welcome everybody. We're here with Seagate Stories. This is just an opportunity to hear how Jesus is real in the everyday reality and nitty-gritty of life. And I'm delighted that Kirsty Young has joined me today for today's podcast. Just an opportunity to have a conversation. Kirsty, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Kirsty. I'm 35. I'm wife to Phil, and mum to Caleb, Esty, and Phoebe. We've been at Seagate for nearly 20 years now.
Wow.
Which, when you say that, is a long time.
Yeah, that is a long time.
Yep.
So tell people one thing that people don't know about Kirsty, even people who know you well. One thing that they maybe don't know.
Oh, Jings. This was off script. This was not something you asked me. One thing that you don't know about me. I don't know. That's really tricky.
Just make it up, Kirsty. It's fine. Just make it up.
Oh, I hate tea.
You hate tea.
I hate tea, which I know is offensive to you, but I hate tea.
That is quite
Yeah.
offensive to me,
Yeah.
actually. I think
Yeah.
we'll probably just close the podcast there, really.
Yeah.
It's really great that you are here. Tell us a little bit about early life. What was upbringing? Let's go back to the beginning. What was that like?
So, a lot of people won't know that I am adopted.
See, you could have answered that for the last question.
So I could have. I see what you were doing.
Thank you.
So I'm adopted. My little brother is adopted, so we're not biologically brother and sister, but we're both adopted. I was my birth mum was very young, and just unable to bring me up. So I was adopted into a Christian family, brought up in Stranraer till I was 12. Loved it down there. It was a nice part of the world to be brought up around the coast, and there wasn't a lot of young people my age. We were brought up in the Brethren,
Yep.
and was doted on by a lot of the adults and older generation, because there wasn't many of us. So enjoyed our time down there. I spent every second weekend with my gran and granddad up in Cumnock, which was good fun. They spoilt me rotten, and my aunt as well. And it was a big part of my childhood. My gran was a very godly lady, and she, in hindsight, taught me a lot. And we baked together and read together, and she was a lover of poetry, and I wish I'd spent a little bit more time taking in that poetry. Reading books to me and teaching me how to pray.
So those are your early memories of
Yeah.
of faith and Christianity.
Yeah.
Very precious memories, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's only when you sit down and think and prepare for something like this do you really start to appreciate what and who has been in your life at that young age. I guess you don't sit and think about it very often, but having sat and prepared for this, I would say my gran was a big part of my faith journey at a young age. She would come down and speak at the women's meetings that Mum organised, and she was, she taught me a lot.
Yeah.
A very good role model.
And so you felt completely welcomed into that family, the adoption thing, very early on, really.
I was told at a very young age, because it was quite a close-knit community where we lived in Stranraer. There was a lot of people my age. We were all going to school together. So Mum and Dad felt that it was important that I knew, just in case other children knew, and mentioned it a bit first. So I knew at 5 that I was adopted, and Mum and Dad said that they sat me down and told me, and I was like, right, okay, and then just started playing. It was just everyday normal. It wasn't unique or strange or different.
Yeah.
Only when you talk to people do they, when they find it fascinating and they ask you lots of questions, do you realise that actually it is not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a big part of the Christian faith, actually. I mean, that adoption is a part of the Christian faith. We are all adopted into God's family. I mean, does that make it more special, or do you kind of understand that in a different way, that what it like for us as Christians to be adopted into God's family?
Yeah, I think I'm laughing because we were watching an episode of Slugs and Bugs. If you've heard of that, it's a good Christian.
I'm too old,
It's
Kirsty.
great.
I'm too old.
Well, yeah, this is like all new to me, so like it would have been VeggieTales or whatever for us,
Yeah.
but this is Slugs and Bugs is the new one. And it's we were watching the episode this week, and it was about adoption. And actually, we've just told Caleb and Essie that I was adopted. Because they asked, we were chatting about grands and who gave birth to who, and they said, did Granny give birth to you? And I went, no, actually. So we kind of were talking about that. And then an episode of Slugs and Bugs this week was all about adoption and about how we're adopted into God's family, and you could see their little minds kind of working. I was like, and that's like me, like my mum and dad adopted me, and that's just like God and how he adopts us into his family, and we're one big family together, and you could see their little minds kind of trying to work that out. And again, like a bit like me, they were like, okay, and then moved on.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's probably a greater sense of appreciating it and what that means. You know, I had no family, and mum and dad took me in, and the same way where, you know, there you can have no family or you can have a big family, but God will take you in
Yeah.
and make you his, and you know, underneath his wings, the same way that mum and dad took me underneath their wings.
Yeah. And life could have been very different.
Yeah,
But for that.
I think you, again, looking back, you can see God working. You know, he chose to allow me to have a Christian family, and who came and adopted me, and you know, life could have been very, very different if that hadn't been the case. And you know, by the grace of God, it was a Christian family that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, where does your own personal Christian faith come into that story? Is that in Stranraer or
Yeah,
later?
so we where, so again, like with the brethren, like, and where we were all quite a tight-knit community, and there were different brethren churches dotted around about Wigtonshire, and we would all go and support each other's meetings and things. And we had a Saturday night meeting, and somebody, the speaker had brought along a big lump of coal and said, "This is your heart." And I remember being like, I don't want that to be my heart. I don't want that to be my heart. And yeah, that was the moment for me, like, you know, Gran praying into my life and mum and dad, and you know, growing up in that. But that was a moment of, you know, the illustration being really powerful and understanding my heart is that black and dark, and Jesus can make it white and clean again. And so I remember coming home and saying to mum and dad, I don't want my heart to be like that anymore. And so that kind of moment of being saved, you know, that was the kind of journey. So I was 7, I think,
Yeah.
around about 7 years old. So just that concept of understanding what sin could do, or does do to
Yeah.
your heart. So,
And that we're all sinners, really.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a kind of gripping onto it, like in that childlike faith at that moment, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. But yeah, it was that was a kind of proper scary point.
Yeah, yeah. So you were down in Stranraer, looking out at the beautiful island of
Irish Sea,
Ireland
yes.
and Irish Sea. But you moved. You said you were there till 12. You moved from there. What happens next? Where's the
So
journey go from there?
mum and dad Dad was an architect down there. Mum just wanted a bit more stability. So Dad got a job in Lanark, and we moved a couple of years after that when it became full time. So Dad, for the first year or so, was part time, and he was away, so half of the week. So it was Mum and me and Declan, and then when it became full time, we moved up to Curlick, so just next door to Lanark, and we went to Curlick Gospel Hall, and Curlick High School. Declan moved to primaries, so that was like the October of my first year at high school.
Yep.
That was quite hard, because the move to high school is difficult enough, and then everyone's kind of already made their friendship groups.
Yeah.
And then in October, we moved to a whole different place.
And so you were into what year was that one?
First year.
In the first year, new
so
school?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what were the how quickly did you settle? What were the challenges there?
Part of the challenge was that I had a terrible hairstyle, and I remember somebody saying, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And so it was that kind of challenge of just fitting in. You know, teenagers and young people saying nasty things to you, and you're the new person, so you can get picked on a bit. Yeah. But I would say there was a good group of girls who kind of took me under their wing and helped me settle in, and I was quite happy. I had a good high school.
Just I mean, I used to have curtains, and I had a lisp.
Oh, wow.
When I
Yes, I had
went
a
to
lisp
school,
as well, yeah.
so that was I kind of feel your pain with some of that. I had curtains. I still get mocked by my children.
I think I need to see some pictures of that. That would be interesting.
Sadly, there are pictures of that. So there, but so obviously you're up in Carluke, and again, how is faith in that? Where does and following Jesus and so on through those teenage years? What was that like?
Yeah, so Curlick was good in some respects, bad in others. Good in that, similarly to Stranraer, there wasn't a lot of people my age in the Gospel Hall, but you were at least close to a lot of other places. Whereas in Stranraer, you were kind of cut off to some extent. And when we moved to Curlick at first, there were a good bunch of people who are probably around our age now, and they ran the YF, and there was a few of us, and I had like 3 or 4 of my friends coming along on a Sunday night, and it was good fun. And then their children kind of grew up, and some of them moved away to other churches or moved away for work or whatever, and that dwindled, and then we were back in the same situation where it was just me and Declan and nobody else really, and that was probably the wobbly part of my life.
What age was that?
Probably about 16.
16.
So Declan's 6 years younger than me, so he'd about 10, and it was that point where boys were coming on the scene and distractions were coming on the scene, and there was just things pulling me in one direction and not really much pulling me in the other, or at least I felt. And so that was probably a make or break kind of time for me.
Yeah.
And actually Mum took me along to a Crusaders kids club, youth club in Hamilton, and we met some people my age and things, but it was actually a lady, Margaret Thompson, who said, "Why don't you come along to SCEM?" Mm-hmm. Which, for those of you that don't know, was a kind of Christian organisation, Scottish Christian Evangelistic Mission. Is that right?
Just say it with confidence, Kirsty. Say it with
right.
confidence, it'll be absolutely fine. Nobody will correct it.
Movement feels just great to me. Movement. I knew it wasn't mission when I said it.
Yeah.
The acronym for that is also single come exit married, which is exactly what happened. So that was I would be 16 at that point, and we did our first mission. Colin McCall was the kind of kids worker along with Ian, and that was very pivotal. Excuse me. Yeah, it was eye opening to see that there were other Christians my age who loved God, and that actually meant something in their life.
Yeah.
That they played out in their life, and that, you know, it was that sense of, you know, when you go away to a mission or you go away to an event and you've got that high because you're around people who are like you and like-minded, and then you kind of come home to the normality of life, and then you realise, oh, actually there's nobody else, there's just me and Declan, and trying to like live that out was probably definitely difficult, and fortunately we went down to Troon every 6 months, every week or so, 2 weeks, to do a kids club. So we did the kids club in the summer, and then we went down and we ran the kids club again, just to kind of keep in contact with all the kids. And it was nice. It was in Troon, so it was my old church actually. And then I met Phil. That was about 6 months later, around about Christmas time. He also was there. He was one of the trustees for Skim, and I guess the rest is history to some extent.
And so, again, so tell us a little bit about Phil and how that comes about. And for those of you who don't know, Phil's behind the camera here. So if you hear us talking about Phil as if he's in the room, he is in the room. But tell us a little bit, how does that come about? How do you meet him? Did your eyes meet across a crowded field, or how did that happen?
Not really, no. We were in Troon doing the kids club. He'd come down in the December, and I'd been coming down with different people, and
so what age were you at this?
So at that point I would have been 17. Yeah, 17.
Okay.
So 16 when I did my first mission, and had turned 17 by that point. So Phil was 22, 21, 22. So a little bit older. And yeah, we just kind of hit it off. But I didn't really think much of it. It was only after he'd gone and got my number off my friend that we had our first date in the January, and came along to Seagate in the February, and kept coming. And
that's how you kind of came in contact with Seagate? Is that's through Phil?
Yeah, through Phil. So Curlick wasn't great. There was a lot of good people, a lot of people who prayed for me and looked out for me, but there was nobody my age. And it wasn't, I needed something more. I needed something for me. I needed to find people my age, and felt like I needed to be fed more. I needed to be connected more. And when I met Phil, he was also looking for somebody else as well. And he knew David Gooding and his mum and dad, Brian and Iris, who were pastor here. And that's what brought us to Seagate. And then, the rest is history. We settled here. It was eye-opening to me. Seagate seemed very forward-thinking, very modern, very just so different. Just so different. And at no point in any of this am I trying to slate my upbringing in the brethren.
No.
Because there was a lot of fundamental things that I learned, and a lot of good Bible teaching, and
lots of Bible verses. If you're like me, similar upbringing, really, in lots of ways, and you have those Bible verses, all those things that come that come by. So it's a real good grounding, isn't it?
Like memorizing scripture. You know, there were so many good things that came out of it, but we needed more. And Seagate was that, like, to be fed. Brian was so good. His teaching was so engaging, as is yours.
You don't have to say that. We can edit that out. Edit that out. Sorry.
But it was just so comfortable. And I know that's the opposite of what you try, but I mean that in the sense that it was just inviting, and it felt like coming home.
Yeah, which is in many ways is what we're trying to do. I think is that we want people to find that comfort and to find that home.
Yeah.
And life though has not necessarily been straightforward and easy, has it? I mean, there's been a few challenges and a few things along the road.
Yeah.
That as there always is in life. How has faith helped you? You want to talk about some of those challenges that you faced, and how your faith has helped you in some of those?
I think coming to Seagate made me realise that God is alive and real. You know, I think that it was a concept. There was a lot of lack of understanding on my part. I think that it was a thing you did on a Sunday. You know, it wasn't a day-to-day relationship. And so coming to Seagate was a kind of eye-opening, God is real, God is working in the everyday, God is here with us. And I think that has allowed me to weather the storm, because we got married in 2010, and my dad passed away suddenly in November 22. And I don't think that I would have got through that had we not been in Seagate and been grounded, and learned to have a proper relationship with God. Because there was the anger, there was the hurt, there was the grieving, but there was, he's up there. It's okay, God's got this, God's got me, God's got our family. Like, we might not understand what happened, but, you know, he's in a better place.
Yeah.
Thank God. And
your dad was incredibly important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you had as lots of daughters do, they have a very special relationship with their dad.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at that point as well, you can have the guilt of, well, we're newly married. I was in my last year at uni and then into my probation year. And that guilt of not seeing them as much as you should. And, you know, all of that stuff that can just kind of eat away at you. And you just have to give it to God and go, I can't bear that burden. That's too heavy to carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But faith brings a great comfort into those moments that, I mean, we all face that reality of losing loved ones.
Yeah.
We either have or we will.
Yeah.
And your faith just kind of in Jesus kind of holds you through that, right?
Yeah. I think, that's all you can do. I think you can't do anything else. You would be consumed by grief and pain if you didn't have a hope.
Yeah.
I can't see another way of...
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, all is lost if God is not real.
Yeah.
If that's not the case,
Yeah. If it doesn't count through death, then and I think it's Paul that writes in 1 Corinthians, isn't it? He says if we as Christians are more to be pitied than anyone else if it doesn't count when the rubber hits the road in those moments of tragedy.
Yeah. I think we have losing my dad was hard, and then I think it was hardest most on my little brother. He found it incredibly difficult, and then that was probably another trial, and as we were going through the kind of grieving process of all of that, he just struggled, and we ended up losing him to a certain extent, I guess. He chose a different life, and we don't actually really know where he is at this point, and or what he's up to, or how he is. But we have a God who does, and we just have to keep praying that one day he'll bring him home. And yeah,
That's a hard thing. That's a really hard
yeah,
thing.
I think it was difficult enough losing Dad, and I was out of the house and removed to a certain extent. But you know, that hard on my mum, because it was so sudden.
Yeah.
And hard on Declan because he still needed a dad. He was only 16, 17 at that point. So yeah, it was a hard time for us all, and Mum understandably kind of clung to Declan, and Declan found that tough, and we found it tough because we were the ones who were trying to hold it all together and keep the unit together, and keep the glue that held it all together. But ultimately, he became an adult and making his own choice, and had to respect that. And we can just keep praying that one day he'll come home. And again, being at Seagate, there was a lot of people who knew what we were going through, and who always asked diligently, and prayed diligently. And a lot of those people are no longer with us anymore, but they looked out for us, and that's when you realise that everyone is going through something. When I lost Dad, people came and shared their journeys and how they got through it, and what God had done in their life, and that was incredibly helpful and incredibly meaningful. Yeah.
Which I suspect what you've just said will be meaningful for people who are listening to this, because it is easy, isn't it, when you go to church, and inevitably you can't share everything with everybody because churches are too big to do that. But the temptation is to think that everybody else has it sorted and they're fine. But actually everybody who comes carries a pain and a weight and a struggle, and it's that support of the church really, really helpful for you in terms of other people getting around you in that moment.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah. I think it showed that compassion, that people understood and always had kind words to say or encouraging words to say. And I remember standing, trying to sing the song that we sung at Dad's funeral, like a few days after, and you just standing there crying your eyes out, and people understand. I think sometimes people think, they look in and go, well, you don't seem that sad or emotional, and like, no, I do, but I have a hope that and an understanding that he is in a better place, and he is in a better place, not just that we say that, and that he's with his Saviour.
He's with Jesus, and again from earlier, you just incredibly thankful for him and for everything, for his love and for all that. You said there that you were in the middle of probation year, and that so job, what's career? Talk about career.
So I trained as a teacher,
Yeah.
a primary teacher. That was forever my goal. My aunt was a primary teacher, and I just wanted it from such a young age. That's all I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And got into Jordan Hill, and when we met, Phil and I met, I was going for my interview like a few days after, I think, our first date, and got in unconditional, the place I wanted to be. That was all I ever wanted. And one of the conditions actually when we got engaged was that we would wait until I was finished uni. And when we got engaged, we managed to bargain and made it between the third and fourth year. And 4 years was too long to wait. And so we made it 3.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
And actually, I remember sitting in third year talking in one of my tutorials with talking to my friend about something to do with the wedding, and the tutor overhearing and saying, "Are you getting married?" And I said, "Oh yeah, in the summer." And she's like, "Well, why?" Because I want to get married to my future husband. Yeah, but why? She's like, why would you do that in the year before your last year? She's like, either you fail or your marriage fails in the first year. I was like, well, thank you for that encouraging.
It's tremendously comforting.
Yeah, but just I guess that just not that understanding of what marriage actually meant to us, and I guess looking at a 20-year-old girl thinking you're just throwing your life away.
Yeah, although interestingly, they wouldn't have seen perhaps or known the strength that you have.
No.
So you have an inner strength.
Yeah.
That the more you get to know you would sense that you have that strength. And also, if I know you reasonably well, somebody saying that to you is a case of, well, that's not going to happen to me. Is that right?
Yes, 100%. I will show you. Even if I never see you again, I will show you. Yes, yeah.
Which is oddly a helpful thing in that situation, because it's not it's not easy. It wasn't easy, but so you were a primary school teacher.
Yes.
We're using the past tense there a little bit. What's life at the minute? What are you working as at the moment?
Mum.
Okay.
Mum, yeah. All day and all night. Became a mum 6 years ago. Wow, 6 years. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that journey in terms of, because you've got 3 kids now. It's lovely, beautiful family. Straightforward journey?
No. No, so in amongst Dad passing away and Declan choosing which path he wants to go down and holding the family together at points, we were choosing to try and start a family of our own, and that just didn't really happen. 4.5 years later, Caleb came along, but through that 4.5 years was a lot of tears and heartache and lack of understanding, and we tried for a while and nothing really happened, and then we sought advice, and actually again the doctor that we went to see and we asked to be referred to the clinic, the fertility clinic and things, she said, "Are you prepared for this? Like, your marriage is gonna suffer, or just be prepared." So again, that was a bit of a challenge, although we have not found that a challenge, but it was okay. Obviously it's hard. So we sought fertility treatment. I basically have had like half the amount of chance of getting pregnant as a normal.
So you could have had 6 kids. Is that what you're saying?
No, the opposite. So we at that point we started the Armour of God course with you and Jeanette, and I just it was hard. It was a really hard spell because I was surrounded by kids all day every day. I saw kids whose parents couldn't have cared less at points for them, and saw other people struggling, other people losing babies, and I just really struggled. That was probably the hardest. As much as losing dad was hard, you still have that. I understand it. This it's a normal process. I understand it. This I didn't get.
Yeah, because you have a lot of love to give.
Yeah.
You are a brilliant parent, and I can say that, and I don't say that to everybody, but you are a brilliant parent. You got that love to give to children, and church and things that are said in church not always easy in that journey either.
No, not always helpful. I think, yeah, not always helpful. We had a lot of older people keep chibbing us and asking, when are you having kids? And when are you falling pregnant? And as our peers fell pregnant, would say, oh, your turn next. And just a lot of comments that were not meant to hurt and not meant to be unhelpful, but were.
Yeah.
Because it's raw. You're living it every day. You're living it every month. It was raw, and that one of my lasting memories of Nancy was always when we fell pregnant. Her coming to me and saying, "I've prayed for you for so long, but I never ever asked because it was never my place."
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of person that I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us, how does your faith get you through that? How does Jesus help you through that time? What was the
Two
what were
things.
the
I remember
lessons?
we were away at the women's group. We were away up at up north, and it was all about hearing God. And I think at that point, as much as I was angry with God and not understanding, I probably wasn't allowing him to actually talk to me. I didn't want to hear, because in case it was no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
And that was a hard weekend. I think I did a lot of crying. Heather gave me a lot of cuddles. Because it was coming to that point of realising that, okay, I think I need to actually properly come before God with this, and I'm not sure I'm prepared to hear what the answer might be. And then starting the Armour of God course, and having to just kind of lay down what it was that was holding on to us, the thing that was consuming us. And for me, it was that. Yeah. I woke thinking about it. I went to bed thinking about it. I thought about it at work every day because I was surrounded by children.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the church. There was a prayer night, and things were different. Things were around, and just having to go, okay, if this is not for me, that's okay. That's okay. That was hard, because it was everything I wanted. And then a week later, finding out I was pregnant with Caleb. And I always remember saying to Jeanette, and Jeanette saying, God has a sense of humour.
Yeah.
I did not find that funny. Yeah, that was hard.
But it's an incredibly precious thing, actually, because the call for the Christian is to have your identity in Christ. Is not in in being a parent, and indeed being a teacher, or indeed for me being a pastor, which is one of the big challenges of my own life. And there's a real gift in that. Even with the humor, there's a bit of gift in that, isn't there? That you're right, because your identity in that moment is more in Christ than anything else. And so in the grace of God, you are a parent, and you've become a parent, and but it might not have been that way, but you would still have had your identity more solidly in Jesus and that he was real.
But isn't it funny how we forget that, even though we've gone through something like that? Because I can say that when I fell pregnant, or when I became a mum to Caleb, that's when I realised that actually my identity was in being Mrs. Young and not being in Christ. It was my identity as teacher, as mum, was so strong, as Mrs. Young was so strong, that when I became mum, I didn't really know how to be. So even though I've gone through that and I've laid it down and said, it's okay, you are the pair, you are all encompassing, I've still 9 months later had to go through it all again.
But that's the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. We are forgetful,
Yeah.
and we don't remember these things. But
Yeah.
it's and so sometimes God has to
Yeah.
come back and back and back and
Yeah.
around, and so life is. You said that you're a mom and that's what you do, but you have an artistic side to you as well. So you're not just a teacher, not just a mom. In fact, behind you and to the side is some of your work. You want to tell us a little bit about that and about the artistic side and the business and so on that you've got?
Yeah, so I was actually just looking through my Bible journaling things just this week, and I've dated a lot of the things that I've journaled in my Bible, and I kind of started 2015, 2016, so nearly 10 years ago, did I feel the kind of creative side of me wanting to do something. So I was still teaching, but started a wee business doing kind of calligraphy, or fake calligraphy back then, and I really enjoyed it. It was just a kind of creative outlet. Teaching can be so all encompassing that it was nice to have something for me. And then fell pregnant with Caleb, and well, parenting is full on.
I've been told.
Yes.
Usually by my wife,
Yeah,
but yes,
yeah,
I've been told that it's full on.
And yeah, so it just kind of fell by the wayside. Obviously, I was going back to work teaching at that after Caleb as well, so it was just too many things to juggle. And then only in the last 6 months, have I felt like maybe I would like to kind of start things back up. Maybe with the thought of not wanting to spend my whole life teaching. Maybe, I don't know. I felt a call to start it up again. This time under a different name, Olive and Fig. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that.
You are allowed to say that. Absolutely, you're allowed to say it. You're allowed to tell us everything about Olive and Fig. Yeah, people should totally go there. Give us the website.
oliveandfig.co.uk.
There you go.
So yeah, I just felt this kind of call to do something. I've been doing things for Seagate for a while, and that, as much as I wasn't doing anything for me, I was still doing the boards and things for Seagate, which I've enjoyed doing, and it's been nice to be able to serve the church like in that way. But I felt like I could do more with it. So just before Christmas, we kind of set up a wee shop. Thankfully, Phil knows all things technical, so he set up the website and things for me. And we did a couple of Christmas fairs, and it went down really well. And I just love that I'm creating things that are going into people's houses that are full of God, full of His Word, and just being able to share that in a artistic way is very cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And faith, when you were in teaching and in the staff room and so on, able to share your faith? Were you people? How did you find that in your faith touching down in professional life?
Yeah, I think Probably not as well as some people that I know, but people knew that I was a Christian and knew that I went to church every Sunday, not just sometimes, and that it meant more to me than just going Christmas, Easter, and whatever. And I've had a few conversations with different people over the years about it, and I had one of the girls come along to carol service, and I think the opposite can happen sometimes, that you can get involved in the gossip and just the hard stuff in the middle of teaching, and the nitty-gritty.
And it's a hard job.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. And speaking of jobs that are not easy, I mean, being a parent is, and you get three kids, beautiful kids. How do you find, faith and getting the time to read the Bible and praying? Because it's a really busy season of life.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Are you able to kind of carve out time for that in terms of faith?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
Yeah, totally.
It's hard.
It's hard.
I think I don't always prioritise it. If I've had a hard day, if I'm frustrated, if it's been a long slog, I don't want to open the Bible. I just want to sit on my phone and mindlessly scroll, except I don't. That's just what I do,
Yeah.
But when I do it, you obviously feel the benefits of it, and it can be really hard. It can be lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially, we're just coming out of chickenpox season in our house, and you've been confined to the house with a little girl who is your image, stubborn as you like. It's hard going.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to have to do is just sit and. Yeah.
But that's see, that's really helpful. That honesty is really helpful for people who are listening.
Probably wouldn't have told you that 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But I think that actually all of them fig, because I think you just have to be real. Otherwise, what's the point?
Absolutely.
You're just selling a false story if you're not honest. And there are days where I have read my Bible, I have read the word for today, I have prayed, I feel God with me, I feel Him helping me, and there are days where I don't do that and I don't feel that, and that's probably the days where the kids get the worst of me.
Yeah. But I think that resonates. It should resonate, I think, with the lives of other people in the church, and I think it's really helpful to hear that, the honesty, because it's a busy, difficult season of life, and it's not easy to do that. In school gate, obviously you're taking the kids to school, walking down to the school and so on. You get an opportunity to interact with parents and so on.
Well, because of mainly music, actually, we the first few times we did school drop off together, Phil was like, "You're a minor celebrity." He's like, everybody. I was like, "Oh, yeah." And because of mainly music, there's so many parents who come along or have been to mainly music, and it's actually really special. Even this morning, taking Caleb to football, and was telling one of the mums about doing this afternoon, and she asked me what we were going to be talking about, so shared with her, and then invited our wee boy along to the SU group with Caleb on the Mondays. And I think actually the older you get, the more, not carefree, that's not the right term, but more you know what your point is.
Yeah.
The point of you being here is for me to disciple my kids and for them to try and hopefully follow God, and for me to share that with everyone else. And that's the goal of mainly music, is to be a community, and I think that's what we're doing. You know, we have people coming to talk to me in the playground about what's been hard for them this week, because they know me and they know that I'll pray for them, and the team will pray for them.
Which is an incredibly precious thing. And again, is your faith played out in the ordinariness of life.
And I think that's why it's important to be real, because you know, chatting with the mum this morning, when you first have your baby and you're all trying to have everything together and keep your house together and keep on top of the laundry and all the other million of things and keep your hair looking nice and your makeup, like, you know, and then there are actually mornings where we all rock up at the school like completely frazzled and just like, here you go, have my children for a little while. Like, you know, we were saying that this morning, that actually it's nice at this point that we all have each other's backs, because like that the dad hasn't been well. So yesterday, the different parents, including me, were looking out for him and even in the playground, and she's like, it's just nice to have the community around about you.
Absolutely.
Like,
and social media doesn't help with that perception, really.
No.
That can be quite a challenge as well.
Social media is, for me, both great for Olive and Fig, but but very hard work. I find it really detrimental to my mental health to stay on it for too long. So when I choose to scroll, like, that's when the spiral starts. It's great. It's a tool that I need to utilise for getting Olive and Fig out there. But there's a reason why I haven't posted that much in the past few months, is because it took everything to post as much as I could before Christmas, because you have to interact, and I found it really difficult because the people I want to interact with look like they have it all together, and they might not, they probably don't, but I can't keep up that persona.
Yeah, I mean, if it's any comfort to you, I mean, I've come off social media, and I know in saying that we'll promote this through our social media. So I know that
it's such a good tool, but so bad for your mental health.
In fairness, for me, I wasn't even very good at making it look like I had it all together. So it was completely pointless in many ways for me, for that on a personal level. But like you, I get the thing of the usefulness.
When Caleb was first born, you know, it's just you and him, and you'd be sitting feeding or whatever, and you'd be on your phone, and you'd be thinking, oh, I don't do that with him. I don't play with him like that, or I don't do baby-led weaning. I don't make all my food from scratch in the house. Like, I feel like I'm a really bad mum, or, you know, all of those things that just feed into your self-worth. Instead, if I opened my Bible, I would see that my self-worth is in him.
Yeah.
And not in all of these things that are lovely, but don't have to be done.
Yeah, and actually that the fact that you love your child and you're there is so much more important than anything else.
Yeah.
Future from here, you're young, both in name and in reality. Oh, you are young. You are. I can say that. So hopes for the future. What are your hopes?
We were chatting about this last night. I was like, I'm not sure. That's a really hard question. I guess my what could be perceived as twee answer, but it's not, is that as my job as mum just now, my job is to share God with them and model God to them. And so my hope for the future would be that we've done a good job, and that they would come to know Christ. Because right now that is my focus. If we were talking about...
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was trying to hold it in. Sorry.
Other hopes, I would hope that I could find a channel for Olive and Fig and grow that, both for me, but for other people as well. and work out how I can make that work without burning myself out or burning myself out on social media as well with it. But it's all right.
That's all right.
That would.
Kirsty, it has been amazing to chat to you. I've loved it. Thank you so much for being vulnerable, and I know you've really been vulnerable. You've been really open, and we're so grateful for that. And I hope people who are listening really that comes across, and that genuineness comes across. Thank you.